possibly, or will have questions by the time I'm done talking, and I don't want to take up too much time with just my information. And that's also because, so you guys are talking about teen health issues right now, right?
Yeah.
Correct? Okay. So I was once a teenager, but I am not a teenager now. So you guys are actually going to be the experts on this field for the most part. But I'm also a therapist, so I have an idea of what teens are up against, especially what teens who are having difficulties are up against. So the main teen health issues are alcohol abuse, drug abuse, pregnancy, and death. So suicide. Suicide.
No, he said definitely.
Oh, definitely. I thought you said death. Sorry. Okay. But suicidality, other health concerns also are so self-harming behavior, which can be alcohol use, drug abuse, also self-harming. So a lot of teenagers who will cut themselves or harm themselves in other ways. Also putting themselves at risk for being hurt. So again, getting drunk on the weekends and not being with people who can care for you, or not also eating very well. So a big problem is also youth who don't eat properly. So I work at the Post-Traumatic Stress Center, where we see individuals. I see a lot of adolescents who have been through very, very awful things. And a lot of what happens is that as a way of trying to deal with the bad things that have happened in people's lives, they then turn to these things. So, if any bad things have happened in each of your lives, you'll have an idea of what I'm talking about, which is that the only way to deal with upsetting feelings is a way to numb them out and try and get rid of them. So, a good way to numb and get rid of feelings is to drink alcohol, do drugs, have sex, stay out too late, eat a lot of food, especially unhealthy food. And the problem, or cutting, the problem with these things is that they're all temporary. Okay? So if any of you have drank alcohol, you don't need to raise your hands if you don't want to. And if any of you have, or if any of you have used drugs or substances.
Never.
Drugs include, marijuana, cocaine, pills, heroin, for all of them. But you'll know that these, or if any of you are having sex or have had sex, you'll know that these things are temporary. They end. Okay? Unless you continue to do it.
Yeah, I recorded it.
At some point, people stop drinking. Okay? Then they have what we call a hangover if they drink enough. Okay? Or the drug wears off. Or the sex ends. Or the cutting goes so deep that the person is bleeding to the point where they need to eventually get help. Okay? So, what happens if you're still in pain after this really good way of helping yourself wears off? You have to do it again. Because you still continue to feel bad, and in fact you then feel worse. Because alcohol and a lot of drugs are actually depressants. Meaning they actually make you feel worse. Not just the hangover makes you feel worse, but actually you emotionally feel worse the next day. Okay? So then you feel even worse. So then the next night you decide, okay, actually now I'm going to drink, 20 bottles of beer, as opposed to the 15 I drank the night before, because now you feel even worse about yourself, and the problem continues, and that can then form into addiction. So a number of teenagers, as well as adults, can eventually become addicted to these substances. Now, that's a bit of a hard decision, because you're in so much pain, you want relief, you guys are stressed out, you're going to school, you're trying to get into colleges, you're taking care of younger sisters, you're taking care of your parents, you're trying to, focus on your own relationships, and it's very difficult. So, you're in a bit of a struggle, because these are temporary ways of making yourself feel better for most teenagers, but they can have lifelong health effects. Lifelong, okay? I don't know how many of you have heard about people who've taken drugs for the first time and are permanently damaged for the rest of their lives.
Is that possible?
That that is absolutely possible. Yeah.
How is it possible?
Yeah, Sharon?
I know, like a 30-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, if people do drugs for a long period of time, often they have lasting health effects. But also, if you take the wrong amount, the wrong kind, you don't know where you get it from, you do know where you get it from, it can have a lasting effect. And also, just everyone's biology is different. So what one pill does to one person, the same pill could do something to someone completely different to someone else. So that's why these things have lasting health issues. Okay? If you're eating poorly, if you're eating as a way to feel better or eating the wrong things, those can have lasting effects on your weight, on your heart, on your blood pressure, on your self-esteem. Okay? And these things are very, very hard to get rid of. If, for example, you're using sex as a way to feel better, okay? One time is all it takes to get what?
Addicted.
A baby, addicted, and STDs. Which many of them do not have a cure for. One time, you can have an STD or an STI. Do you know what? I don't know what they're calling them now. Are they STIs now? Or AIDS or HIV. That can be permanent. So, just one time. People, teenagers sometimes think, oh, if I have sex one time, I can't get pregnant or I can't get an STI. That's not true. That is not true. Okay? Even if you're not having sex, which, you can have oral sex and you can still get an STI. One time. And you don't always know if the person has an STI. Okay? You can't tell if somebody has HIV unless they're, visibly sick. And unless they tell you. Most people don't know that they have an STI. Okay? Because some of the symptoms are in hibernation, they don't show up until later. So, these are things that teens are up against and which they need information about. So I don't know what you guys are, I'm assuming this is for a project that you guys are going to be doing. Yes. So a big, big, big thing of how we try and prevent these things is by educating students. Because some of you guys don't have parents who are at home giving you the sex talk, or telling you about drugs, or telling you about alcohol. And you're finding it out yourself, and friends, and things like that. And so that would be and kids are having sex and doing drugs much earlier. How many of you guys have noticed that? Even earlier than when you were, So they need education sooner and need to know the risks that are involved with it. The lasting effects of drug use, alcohol use, poor diet, things like that can really, really, really make a person's lifespan much shorter. So especially people who've been through very, very bad experiences, who use these coping mechanisms, even a lot of it starts in the teenage years, end up passing away much sooner. So your life expectancy actually shrinks significantly as a result. Okay. What have I missed?
Nothing.
Nothing? Now, that's kind of a bummer, right? I kind of just I was just like a total, buzzkill, as they say. But it's so, I'm not saying that teenagers can't have fun, but it's important to have fun in the right way. And to be able to make sure that you're feeling good for the right reasons. Drugs, as I said, and alcohol and sex and food will only make you feel good temporarily. And we don't want people to just feel good temporarily, we want people to feel good for the rest of their lives. That's what we're interested in. Yeah. Can I answer have I missed anything?
No.
No? Yeah. Okay. I think one of the questions was around how can kids talk to their parents?
Right. So
About these things?
I think our whole thing too is teenagers getting access to help without having to talk to their parents.
Okay.
And that's the controversial piece of this whole project. So I So our project is, the theme is called Could We Should We. So it's, you know, could you get access to help without having to talk to your parents about something huge like pregnancy or STD, but is it really a good idea to do that? So I guess just what's your opinion on getting help without having access to your parents?
Okay. Well, a number of organizations, one in particular, Planned Parenthood, does not require parent permission and can keep things confidential for the most part. However, sometimes if you use your insurance or if there's a payment involved, they will contact the parents, but that's not necessarily correct. I have some materials from Planned Parenthood in my office downstairs that has like their number on it and things like that. So that would be if you're concerned that you have an STI, if you're concerned that you have HIV or AIDS, or if you're concerned that you're pregnant. For the most part, it is quite confidential, and that's because when around the teenage years, teenagers want to make their own decisions. And for the most, some teenagers actually can and do make the right decision, and they don't want to be interfered with their parents. Most people in this school got parent permission to come and talk with one of us in the live class at the beginning of the year. The only circumstances that I contact your parents under is if I feel that you are in danger. So, I have had to contact parents, for example, when a student has been intoxicated here on the school premises. Couldn't walk, throwing up, was passing out because he had so much alcohol poisoning. So, I had to call his parents in those circumstances because he was in danger. Okay? As well, it would also call for parent permission if a person was addicted to drugs and was actively using. So, and that would be because the child would require treatment. But for the most part here, we've established a way for every student to come and talk openly, and most things are confidential, meaning your parents don't need to know unless you want us to, or if you're in severe danger. So that would go along, for example, with suicide, things like that.
And I know this is one of your questions, but so what are the, and I'm just like speaking for, then I'll have to ask a question, but what are the pros and cons to then being able to have that access without, you know, having to talk to their parents about it?
Okay. Pros are that sometimes parents, and it's out of their worry, can be overprotective in terms of parents would prefer their kids to not do anything at all, for the most part. Parents in general do not want their kids having sex, do not want their kids doing drugs, do not want their kids drinking alcohol, do not want their kids partying, do not want their kids, okay? Am I correct in this, or am I off? Okay? However, I have tried to stop adolescents from doing these things, and it is literally impossible. You can't stop adolescents from doing what they want to do, and that's because you guys are now able to actually do your own thing. You guys are able to take the bus now on your own. You're able to go out when you want. You go shopping when you want. Some of you guys have privileges to be able to go out when you want when you were younger. But as you become a teenager and adolescent, you have a lot more freedom, right? How many of you guys have your own phones, right? So when I was in high school, cell phones, we did not have, nobody had cell phones. That was only like 15 years ago, okay? So that's a big change. Adolescents have a lot more freedom, much more social. You guys now have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's a lot more social interactivity, okay? And so it's much harder to stop teenagers from doing what they want to do. So if we only rely on parents to be the ones to help their kids, that's very restricting. So we want to have teenagers have access to people constantly, to give them education and give them help. That's the pro. The con is when if you don't tell your parents and they become very worried. Because leaving parents out is not always helpful. And that's because they are the ones who are supposed to take care of you. them out could make them not trust you anymore. It can make them feel betrayed. Sometimes parents kick their kids out because they felt so left out of things, or, you know, when a kid gets pregnant, they kind of say, hey, you're not in my house anymore. And it generally can make the relationship much harsher. So, I don't know, what are, maybe you guys have just as much information. What's been the pros and cons of telling your parents about stuff or not? I know a lot of students say, my parents just don't understand. You know, they don't get it. Some teenagers say, oh my gosh, my mom or my dad like totally was helpful with me with that. They knew much more than I thought. Yeah. What? You were surprised?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, your parents were teenagers once too. For good or for worse. What have been other experiences? Never talked to your parents ever.
Wait, what? You saying?
What have been have you had any experiences of either filling in your parents or not filling in your parents, and how did it go?
Well,
My mom just said it's an adult thing.
It's an adult decision.
yeah.
Around what? Like whether you go out or not? To do drugs. Okay. So only adults
No,
can
it's
decide?
like, not only adults, like, it can be a kid, and then, like, the adults.
His mother knows.
She works, so, she was, she's definitely like, she doesn't like, kids smoke because it's an adult decision. So, it's not like that kid isn't ready for it, like maybe it's just, feel good. It's just, your mom will just not there. Just
No.
wait a little bit longer. Then see what your surroundings are. So it's good for your life.
Okay. Are you gonna continue your thought?
No.
No. Okay. Some parents have, say, I don't want to talk to you about sex, drugs, and alcohol. I want to actually take you somewhere else. Or they'll maybe have, an uncle or an aunt or a grandmother or someone else, or their big sister or big brother or someone to teach you about that. And that's a great idea as well. It doesn't always have to be a parent. It can also be somebody who you look up to and trust as well. Any other experiences, like talking with or not talking with parents? Or guardians or people? Have any of you guys talked with a teacher about stuff? Bloom?
What?
There is a lot of support in the Alive class, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of like untruth things out there. I've heard, the first time you have sex you can't get pregnant. That's not true. You can. The first time you smoke marijuana you won't get high. It's not true. So you want to make sure that you're getting the right information. And often it's a good idea to get different people's perspective on the same issue as well. What have I missed? Have I answered your questions?
Miss, you have kids.
Pardon?
You have kids.
Is that related to this topic?
Yeah.
It is?
Yeah.
Like you're very skilled in this.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I work a lot. I work a lot with adolescents. Yeah.
Good job.
That's a personal question.
Hold on one sec. Miss me.
questions that you wrote down that you had to ask?
So, well, our budget is included in the app, so you
Yeah.
give information to teams without needing to attend, to be involved. So, if you had a son or a daughter that they knew about this app, how would you feel about them using the app?
I personally, I'm in favor of kids having more information than they think that they need. So I personally would be in favor of that. And I would promote it to other adolescents that I work with. Because there truly is not enough information out there. Truly, there's not. And I'm not quite sure why exactly. But I think an app is a great way because then that's what students are using. I didn't bring flyers because what teachers are going to put them in your bag and forget about them. And students need ongoing information constantly they can get really, really quick. So an app, almost all teenagers have phones now, they can get it really, really instant. So that when they're having that decision point, because what happens is that, a lot of teenagers talk about having sex and they say, oh, no, I'm never going to have sex, I'm going to wait until I'm married. And then all of a sudden, they're in the moment with the person that they, care about, and they say, oh my God, I don't know what happened. I had sex. I don't know, it just happened. And, well, okay, sex doesn't just happen. It's not like a magic experiment, but it means that their emotions begin to kind of take over. And so if they can get information in that moment of saying, oh wait, hang on, how does this go again? How can I make sure that I'm having safe sex? How can I make sure that things are going okay? That would be the most helpful. Because students are not gonna say, oh, hang on a minute, let me just go get that flyer out of my book bag and let me look at what safe sex practices are. It's not gonna happen.
Safe sex is focused.
Right, abstinence, right. But, try and stop a teenager from having sex. It's very difficult. So, if they can have something on their phone, they could say, oh, hang on a minute, let me just check, make sure that we're having safe sex or whatever. That would be actually great.
I have a question. So what do you think our app should include? Information and a chat part and what else?
Okay, so you guys an information part. What would be great is common myths. A section where you guys put down actually what some adolescents think, what teenagers think. So I don't know how you would get them, but so you can even, I'm sure you can Google them and say, what do actually students think? Some students think, okay, in regards to sex, if the guy pulls out, there's no way of getting pregnant. That's not true. So those types of things, so that teenagers can also say, oh my God, I totally thought that was true. That's not true. Whoops. And then change their decision. So I think that would be helpful too. I think the instant chatting is perfect. That's what we try and do with the texting, the Miss Kendra phone, because teenagers need help in the moment. Your lives are so busy. You guys have so much going on. You guys are thinking about so much stuff. There's so many changes going on that you guys need help, from minute. Some teenagers need help minute to minute. That would be great. That's a great idea. Also, maybe resources, so that if somebody needed more help than just the online, just the information, they actually want someone to actually go and talk to, that would be really great. So a helpline or 211, a clinic that they could go to, that would be great. Maybe even a survey, if they're wondering if they're, I have students who say things like, oh yeah, miss, I drink every night, but I'm not an alcoholic. Well, that's not true. Drinking every night is alcoholism. So maybe even like a survey they could fill out to check if they have a problem.
Like a quiz almost?
Pardon?
Like a quiz almost?
Yeah, like a quiz. Yeah. And they could even give their friends. A lot of teenagers get involved in dating violence, where they become controlled in a relationship and they don't know that. So I have teenagers who say, it's more girls, unfortunately, who say, oh yeah, miss, he knows my password to my phone and he checks my phone every time I'm with him. But I'm not being controlled. Okay. Okay, maybe you're not being controlled, but how do you check his phone every time? Do you have access to his phone all the time, and do you keep it on you, and do you check his messages constantly? Right. So or saying so that's that would be even for teenagers to be able to check if they're in a violent, controlling relationship. That's really important. Sometimes teenagers don't know. They think it's love. He's obsessed with me. And to give other friends, to show them, say, hey, I'm really kind of worried about you. You haven't called me in 3 days. Maybe you should take this quiz.
I don't know what's more alcoholic.
Huh?
I'll try to figure out something.
There's some, there's like some free tests online. I don't know if people do them like an IQ test or stuff like that. But I could also bring you guys some other tests that could be helpful, or an online quiz that would be helpful.
Could we include like your text?
Totally. Yeah. I would love that. Yeah. Even, poor eating habits. How much fast food do you eat in a week? Do you eat breakfast in the morning?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. It is important. It's your brain working. A lot of teenagers don't drink enough water.
I know I do.
I don't drink enough either. I don't drink enough water, but it's super important. So, any questions? Let's see.
Thank you.
Did I miss anything? Did I get anything wrong? That's a good question. Oh, yes. Confront their parents on what? Okay, so for example, like if a student is pregnant and wants to tell the parents? Okay. Some, you want to, that's difficult because every parent is different and every parent is going to take it a different way. Often, you don't want to be, when you tell your parents about stuff that you know is going to upset them, you want to do it in a good, mature way. So you don't want to do it in the middle of a fight. And you say, well, screw you, I'm pregnant. That is not going to go well because you're going to blurt it out when they're already upset with you. And then you're going to, I don't know, maybe you have to run for your life because you're not to. So you want to make sure that you do it in a time when you feel calm and that you are able to do it. Sometimes you can do it with the support of someone that makes you feel more comfortable and get the help that you need in order to tell your parents. Try and do it in a way that is going to make it a bit more, you're not going to be fueling something. And expect that they won't be happy with you. If that's how your parents are. Some parents are thrilled. Most parents aren't. And then include them in your decision making if you can. And I would say, from what you said, I want your help. I don't know who else to turn to. As opposed to saying, well, I'm pregnant, so I'm going to do this. And
after the stuff I need to tell her, she happy.
yes, right? Yeah. And how does that go? Have you ever told? Can you talk about your mom? Have you ever told her stuff when she's not happy, or when she's stressed out about work?
Works.
Once, and how did it go?
She aggravated.
Yeah. some parents are aggravated all the time, so you'll want to maybe try and find a time with them. Some parents, if they're really perceptive, I've heard a lot of parents say, I knew something was going on. So most parents are relieved that you say something, that you come forward with it, as opposed to them guessing. Yeah. Good question. And usually, in those cases, even for boys, I mean, boys sometimes have to tell their parents, well, I got a girl pregnant, so that's not easy either, you want to do it before you are too late to make a decision. So for girls that are pregnant, there is a time after that you can no longer have an abortion. If that's what you choose to do. It now can go up, I believe, up until 6 months, which is a long time. But you should really try and do it before so that you can make a decision about what you want to do. You should not be, I mean, try not to be 8 months, 9 months pregnant and then tell your parents, by the way, I'm having a baby any day now. That will be a tough one. Another thing is pregnancy tests. A lot of teenagers don't know how to get pregnancy tests. You can go to the store. Some students don't have money. Pregnancy tests are very expensive. So they can find someone to help them pay for it. But also there's a lot of clinics and health clinics, including Planned Parenthood, but also your doctor can help you get one for free. Sometimes doctors have to tell your parents. I think it's if you're 16 and older, they don't have to tell your parents. But don't take my word on that. I can get you guys more information if you're worried about it. And that's the same with boys. You shouldn't tell your parents, oh, by the way, my girlfriend has had a baby. I'll tell you now. Okay? Any other questions? Nothing even 5 minutes. Any issues that teenagers are up against that I did not mention?
Death.
Death?
Yeah, like ignorance stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So friends being killed? Is that what you mean? Yeah. That's a big problem, especially in New Haven. And that can make teenagers do pretty crazy stuff as a way of trying to deal with that. And in fact, they can put themselves in more danger as a result of that. But it's pretty good.
Isn't that called like mourning? Like, what is it called? Like when you're like trying to get over the death or something. It's called
Mourning.
mourning.
Yep, mourning. The reason why a lot of people will end up doing drugs or alcohol is when they haven't mourned something. So when something really bad has happened, and they go, oh my God, I can't take it anymore, I just have to do something really quick. So, because nobody wants to feel sad, and often there's no time to feel sad, so a lot of people turn to things as a way of trying to make themselves feel better when they're trying to mourn. People should be getting upset when upsetting things happen, but people don't, because they want to feel good like that.
Right? Do you have any more questions?